Please be seated. Are we ready to bring the jury in? All right, let's go ahead and bring them in. That's fine, thank you. Please be seated. Mr. West, you may inquire.
If I could walk you through some of the steps that you took in performing the autopsy in this case, please, in a similar fashion to what Mr. De La Rionda did, so we'll sort of keep on track, if we might.
Yes.
And setting the stage a little bit, when you prepare to do an autopsy, you use technicians to assist you, is that correct?
Yes.
And in this instance, you had two technicians, correct?
Yes.
Priscilla Feller and Ben Dorton?
Yes.
And each of them had a specific role.
Yes.
Would you tell the jury, please, what the role was for each of those assistants?
Ben Dalton helped me to do autopsy. Priscilla Feller, she helped me to write down the fact during the autopsy. And also, she put all the evidence together because she had the clean hand. Ben Dalton and me, we do autopsy. Our gloves is contaminated. So the Priscilla will write down what I tell her to write down. I would say there is defect between fifth and sixth ribs. She will write it down.
Before you get to that point, though, of course, there has to be a preliminary inspection.
Yes.
And the bag is opened, and you see the individual there in the manner in which they were transported from the other location.
Yes.
And in this instance, there were no plastic bags around Mr. Martin's hands. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
And you're familiar with that term?
Yes.
And it's a crime scene investigation type technique where if there may be blood evidence or other kinds of evidence on the hands,
Yes.
then they can be just literally put in a plastic bag and sealed.
There is no plastic bag on the hand. There's just the body bag.
Yeah, so what you're saying is that
It's a body bag.
Trayvon Martin's hands did not have those plastic bags that sometimes accompany a body from the scene of the incident to the medical examiner.
Actually, you cannot use plastic bag on the hand. It is the standard. It is the right practice that every time you should use paper bag instead of plastic bag on the hand. And the body is different story.
Well, let's talk about the hands just for a moment.
Okay.
Because I'm assuming that we saw a sequence here with the evidence photos of the way that Mr. Martin's body was presented to you and to your staff.
Yes.
And there were no paper bags on the hands.
Yes.
Which meant that they were not put on the hands at the crime scene the scene of the incident.
Yes, they did not do that.
And you are familiar with that procedure.
Yes,
And the purpose of it is to preserve the integrity of any evidence that might be located on the hands.
yes,
You would have shown a photograph of that, I take it.
yes. If hand was bagged,
Right.
we will take the photo before the bag will be removed.
Mhm. And in this instance, am I correct that Mr. Martin's body remained at the scene prior to it being transported by the livery service for about 3 hours?
I do not have that information.
Don't you have the notes, I'm sorry, from your investigator that went there?
I did not go there.
Right, but do you have the notes that she would have kept about her arrival time and the time
Yeah, I
that-
do. I do have the note.
When her name is Tara Malfers, Tara Clark, correct?
Yeah, yes.
Same person.
Yes.
And what time did she get there?
In the narrative she wrote, she
No,
arrived.
I don't want a narrative reading. I'd like you just to tell me what time did she indicate that she got there.
Because this is not my writing. I just read it.
No,
It is
what-
not my evidence. It is not my opinion. It is other people's reading. So I just tell you that
These are notes that Ms. Malfers would have made in connection with the work that she did on behalf of your office.
yes.
And-
It is not part of the autopsy report.
Correct, but you have access to these notes. In
Yes,
fact, you
right
have,
here. I
you
read
have
to
them
you.
with you.
Yeah, I cannot remember these numbers.
Agreed.
Yes.
The question, though, precisely is, what time did she get there?
Approximately 21:44 hours means 9 p.m. 44 minutes.
Mhm. The incident had occurred around 7:15.
In the notes here, she said,
Well, you can use that as a frame of reference.
Okay.
There's lots of evidence that the event occurred around 7:15.
Judge, I asked the
So-
witness be allowed to answer the question, and respond to the question.
Okay, he may do so.
okay.
You know,
If you want to, you can read the note.
No, the question is
This
this.
is not my note.
I-
Could be wrong.
I
I'm
know.
under the oath, right? If I give you wrong information, it's perjury. Do you
Yes.
understand?
uh,
Do you understand? I'm under the oath. I
yes.
cannot give you wrong information. So it is not
Here's-
my
Let
note.
me ask
Yeah.
this question to try to clear that up.
Okay.
Assume, for your answer,
Yes.
that the event occurred about 7:15.
That's what you said. I don't know. I really don't know the
Please.
information, the timeline at the scene.
Yes. Please assume that the event occurred about 7:15.
Okay, if you are right.
If there is any dispute in that, the jury can resolve that
Okay.
at some point.
Okay.
So just as a rough time frame, 7:15 is when the event occurred, correct? For our purposes.
I don't
No,
know.
I'm not asking you to agree. I'm just asking you to assume that that's when the event occurred.
Okay, you can assume that.
Yes. And Ms. Malfers arrived at the scene about 2.5 hours later, correct?
I don't know. Again, I do not have the information. You cannot ask me yes or no question.
Based upon her notes that are part of your record,
Okay.
she says that she arrived at the scene at 21:44.
Yes.
That's
this
about
right here.
That's about 9:45. And that's
Okay.
about 2.5 hours after the event, which we have assumed for our purposes occurred at 7:15.
Okay. It's not yes or no. I just say okay.
Mhm. And that in her notes, she left at about 10 minutes after 10.
I did not see that on my note. So
Do you have the notes that she made in connection with the case that are in? Oh, if I could approach the witness, please.
Yes, you may.
Dr. Bell, let me direct your attention to,
Okay.
to this.
This is what I have. You may have different things, so.
No, that's the same.
Okay.
Right here. Cleared the scene at approximately 22:10.
Yes.
That's TSM, that's Ms. Melfors.
Yes, right.
So she left about 10 after 10.
Yes.
So if we're assuming for the moment that the event occurred about 7:15, it was just about 3 hours that Mr. Martin's body was at the scene.
Yes. Okay.
And at least to some degree, unprotected from the elements. Correct?
Objection, improper
I don't
statement,
know.
factual basis for that.
Okay, please rephrase your question.
You cannot ask me a question. I don't know. If it's yes, it's wrong. It's no, it's wrong.
Well, you know the hands weren't bagged, correct?
Yeah, that's the one I know because I did not see that.
Uh-huh. And you know the body was at the scene for about 3 hours.
I don't know
Based
exactly.
upon-
All I know, his body was at the scene for some period of time. I do not have timeline. I do not
Wouldn't
prepare
you
to say
have-
this here.
Wouldn't you have reviewed the notes of the investigator as part of your overall understanding of the event in anticipation and preparation for the autopsy?
No, actually, it's not.
So you don't have any idea what's supposed to have happened when you do the autopsy?
All I know was in the morning, I did autopsy. He was shot, and he's dead.
Right. So you had no idea what anyone had said about what had happened the night before? Is that
We
correct?
had, normally, I did not remember. I told Mr. Mara during deposition, I did not have any.
Let me be precise with the question.
Okay.
So you did the autopsy without any knowledge, having reviewed any information about what was supposed to have happened the night before?
I was told, again, I do not have any recall. I do not have any memory of the day of autopsy. I cannot answer your any question about that. All I hear is the notes I have. Okay.
Let me be sure I understand what
Without
you're saying.
notes, I cannot tell you any fact. Without notes, I cannot tell you any opinion.
Okay, what you're saying today, and to me, and to the
Yes.
jury,
Yes.
is that you have no memory
Yes,
of any of the events surrounding the autopsy itself.
yes.
Is
I
that
tried
correct?
very hard.
Is that true?
It's true, 100% true. I tried.
Now, if you might let me ask...
Let me explain to you.
No, just 1 second,
My
please.
objection is he's not allowed to answer the question.
Okay, we
Okay.
have to, and I've said this before, we have to allow the court reporter to take one person speaking down at a time. So if you will please, after your question, allow Dr. Bao to answer. Dr. Bao, after you have answered, wait for the next question.
Okay,
Thank
no
you,
problem.
you
So
may
I
proceed.
explained to
Thank
you
you.
why
So-
this happened.
Wait,
let
again,
Let me tell you why.
stop.
May I ask the question, Your Honor?
Yeah, I need to answer your first question.
Okay, Dr. Bao, please wait, there's another question. If he has not finished answering the
Yeah.
first question, he will be allowed to do so. So please wait for your question until he finishes his answer.
Okay.
Could
tried.
Could we read the question back? Because I think it was a yes or no question.
I need to explain to the jury why this happened. Why?
Your Honor, may the witness
Why
please...
I cannot remember anything on the day of autopsy and other people can remember. So I did intensive study and I tried many times myself. 2 days or a few days before your deposition, which is 9 months after my autopsy, I came to my office
Your
from
Honor,
8 a.m.
I'm
to
sorry,
8
this is
p.m.
not responsive to the question.
Yeah, I explained why I did not remember. I put everything in front of me, the autopsy report,
Your Honor, would
the notes,
court
the
please
photos.
ask the witness to
I tried very hard. I cannot
respond
remember.
to the question?
Once more, we cannot interrupt each other. Dr. Bao, are you finished with your answer?
I need to explain to the jury.
Okay, but you have, so we're ready for the next question. Okay,
No.
so please allow
Okay.
Mr. West
Next
to,
question. I do not remember anything. Zero.
okay, and we
Anything
understand.
on the day of autopsy. I depend on my notes.
We understand, sir. Please stop speaking so Mr. West can ask the next question.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Understanding that you have no memory of the events surrounding the autopsy.
Yeah, no old memory.
Your testimony today then relies upon your autopsy report?
Yes, the notes,
Correct.
report, and the photos.
Are the notes different than the report itself?
No different.
So the autopsy report are the notes that you're talking about?
Yes.
So as we were starting a moment ago, let's talk about the procedure.
Yes.
At what point do you become, this is generally now,
Yeah.
because I know you don't remember this one, but
Yes.
generally, at what point do you see the body?
So generally speaking, it is not a fact that every morning we have conference 8:30 p.m., 8:30 a.m. Then we start to do autopsy. If it's homicide, as in this case, we check identification. We open the bag. We
Yeah.
take photos.
May I interrupt a moment
Okay.
to ask a more precise question?
Okay.
Because I don't think this is responsive.
Now we have 3 people, now I'm speaking, so it's 4 people speaking at a time. Please state your objection.
My objection is not being allowed to answer the question.
It's okay.
My objection
It's
is
my
that it's
job.
not responsive to the question, and I would like to ask a specific question.
Okay.
Wait for your next question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As part of the autopsy protocol, generally speaking,
Yes.
at what point do you see the body? Is it as soon as the bag is opened, after the body has been undressed and the clothing collected, after the initial photographs are taken, after the fingernails are scraped? At what point do you see the body?
As soon as bag open, sometimes I open, sometimes technician open, sometimes we open together. As soon as we open the bag, we see the body.
In your autopsy report, you say the body is viewed unclothed.
Yes.
So
That's
that
start
sig-
from that's autopsy report.
Right, and in the report you say, this is your report,
Yes.
the body is viewed unclothed. And I want
That
to ask,
after remove the clothes, then body is unclothed.
my question is, so are you testifying that you saw Mr. Martin's body fully clothed? Or did you see the body after your technicians unclothed the body and prepared the body for autopsy?
I was there the whole time. The body received in the plastic bag. We open the bag, we remove the clothes.
How do
But
you-
autopsy report start from without clothes. I do not describe the clothes.
How do you know you did that in this case then?
I do not know. I do that every case.
That's your regular protocol?
Yeah, that's my opinion, not the fact.
So let's talk about what happens then.
Yes.
The bag is opened,
Yes.
and then I assume the body is removed from the bag.
Yes. Our bag is removed from the body.
All right. And the body then is clothed
Yes.
and then photographed.
Yes. Photograph before we remove them.
Yes. Do you take those photographs?
Normally, I do not.
Do you know who took them in this case?
Either Ben, Dalton, or Priscilla.
And those would be the photos taken of in Mr. Martin's clothed body, correct?
Yes.
And then after those photographs are taken, what happens next?
The Ben, Dalton, he would remove the clothes.
And where would you be during this?
I look at I don't recall what I did at the time, but generally speaking, I could look at the hand, look at the face.
But you don't know if you did in this case.
No, I did not remember.
It's possible then that Mr. Dorton would do his assignment, and that is he would remove the clothing.
Yeah, that's his job. He was trained to do that. I have full confidence he did right.
Mhm. So you don't know if you witnessed any of that. You just know at some point.
I was there. I should be there.
Mhm.
I believe without the fact, it is my opinion, I should be there.
Oh, I agree. You should have been there.
Yes.
So, you're not sure if you would, you believe you were.
Yes.
And then do you know what happens to the clothing at the point that it's removed from the body?
Say it again?
Yes.
Can you repeat your question?
What happens to the clothing when it's removed from the body?
We will pack them and put in the paper bag and give to the police department.
Is that what happened in this case?
Should be.
Did it?
Should be. I told you I did not remember anything, and I need to explain to you why I did not remember and other people remember very exactly what happened 2 years ago.
If you would
I
just,
thought my brain is not too bad, so I did research about the
Your
memory.
Honor, may I ask a specific question and elicit a specific answer?
You tried. You asked me the question. I
Yes.
don't know.
What I want to know in this case
Yes.
was the clothing removed and packaged in paper bags.
I don't know, but should be. Like what do you say?
It should have been.
Yes.
And you knew that the sweatshirt was damp.
I saw it from the photo. All my memory is new memory. Okay.
So, in other words, you know from your training and experience as a medical examiner
Yeah.
that if clothing is wet,
Mm-hmm.
it needs to be packaged in paper bags.
Yes.
And if plastic bags are
And actually,
used,
before we pack them, we let them dry a little bit.
did that
before we
happen
pack-
in this case?
Again, I tell you, I did.
No, if that's what happened here.
Yeah, this case, I do not remember. I cannot tell you anything
You do know,
beyond
though,
my notes.
you do know, though, from the photograph of the sweatshirt,
Yes.
the hooded sweatshirt,
Yes.
that it looks wet.
Yes.
So it would be inappropriate and a violation of protocol to take a wet sweatshirt and seal it in a plastic bag.
There is no plastic bag, other than plastic bag carry the body.
So in other words, that you would never in your lab take a wet piece of clothing that's potentially evidence and seal it in a plastic bag.
If anybody do that, he'll be gone next day. He will be fired. Because this very basic concept for us to use paper bag instead of plastic bag. This is a rule.
It's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's no brainer. Everybody do that. I have confidence they did that.
So the clothing is removed and packaged as appropriate.
Yes.
And that would include shoes.
Yes.
You saw shoes in the photo.
Yes, shoes.
Do you know where the shoes are? By any chance?
Now,
Mhm.
I have no idea where it is right now. When body come in, shoes is on feet.
The photograph that you saw here today showed the shoes.
Yes.
And you believe those are the shoes that Mr. Martin was wearing when his body was presented to you.
Before I came here, I spent hundreds of hours. Review the photos, review my notes. All the things I tell you today is based on my notes. It's new memory. It's not the old memory on the day of autopsy.
Are you,
I don't believe anybody can remember anything 2 years ago. I did research about that. The memory could be false memory, old, confused memory, recent.
are you
memory.
reading from something now?
Yeah, I read that. I typed that myself.
May I see what you're referring to, please? May I approach the witness?
Because I puzzled by that. I could not remember the thing, and other
Yes.
people can.
Your Honor, may the witness not answer until I've had a chance.
Okay.
Yes.
Show me what you're looking at.
Before this testimony, I told you I spent hundreds of hours. I typed down potential answers to your potential question. This is my notes.
May I see them, please?
I rather you do not see. This is my notes. Nobody saw that before. I thought it's
Dr.
mine.
Bao, if you're going to be reading from your notes, both attorneys are entitled to see what you're reading from.
Okay,
So please
no
allow
problem.
him to do so. You may approach the witness.
you want to see this one?
All of the notes that you prepared in anticipation of your testimony today.
Okay, so you will return to me as soon as possible.
Yes.
Now look at those notes there.
Your Honor, perhaps it would be convenient if we made a copy for counsel. I can continue with some questioning, and then we can look at them at our leisure.
You've got people here behind you, you can make a copy if you wish.
So they can make the copy?
Um,
It's my note. I typed myself. Nobody read it before.
Okay, these are not the actual report that you rendered.
No, it's my personal note. I use my own time in the evening, weekend.
Okay.
I type these
Council would
notes.
like to take them and sit down and look over them. You may do so and return them to Dr. Bao.
All right, thank you.
So something funny there?
There's no question pending, just, we'll wait till there's questions, please.
Something funny in my notes.
Okay, if you're finished with the notes, if you'll please let Mr. De La Rionda look at them, and Mr. West, you may continue with your questioning.
So is this the only time you can read it, or
I'm sorry?
is this the only time they can read it, or you're?
Yes, sir, they're going to read them now, and then they will be returned to you.
Okay.
We're close to the lunch hour, so I'm going to request that we have a copy
No,
of
you
the
cannot.
note.
It's my note.
I'm going to ask the court for a copy of these. I'm going to want to have an opportunity to review them more carefully and have an opportunity to question Dr. Val specifically about them, but I need a little time to do that. And I can proffer why, but I need that time, and I think the rules provide anything that a witness uses
Okay,
to
this
aid
is a
testimony.
speaking argument, and we can do that outside the presence of the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and break for lunch at this time. Please put your notepads face down. We'll be back at 1 p.m. During the lunch hour, please do not discuss this case amongst yourselves or with anybody else. Do not read or listen to any radio, television, or newspaper reports about the case. Do not use any type of an electronic device to get on the internet to do independent research about the case, people, places, things, or events, or terminology. Do not read or create any emails, text messages, Twitters, tweets, blogs, or social networking pages about the case. Do all of you understand these instructions and will abide by them? Okay, thank you very much. Please put your notepads down and follow Deputy Jarvis back into the jury room. Please be seated. We're going to be in recess for lunch. The notes,
Should be on the teacher.
I understand you're concerned about the notes. What I'm going to do is ask that the clerk make a copy of the notes. The attorneys will be instructed that those notes are not to be shared with anybody else, and after they're finished with their questioning, your notes will be destroyed. Their copy of your notes will be destroyed. So if you'll give it to the clerk, she'll make a copy and provide it to both sides with the confidentiality order that the court has entered previously in this case. As soon as you get your original of your notes back, you could go to lunch and be back here at 1 p.m. You're not to discuss your testimony with anyone because you're still considered to be on the stand. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Court will be in recess.